The decision over whether to have a numerical threshold or not is clearly one for Congress, and Congress has tended to, it provides clarity. Of course, a numerical threshold makes it very clear who isn't covered above a certain level, and that's nice. If you go entirely with a discretionary approach, then you're leaving the regulators a lot of room to decide things, and so Congress has generally come down and done both, and I think maybe both are appropriate. I do think, though, that fundamentally size is only one indicator, and I think it's healthy, one indicator of the riskiness of a firm and of the possibility of it, damaging the financial system through its failure or through its activities. So the business model really matters, and all sorts of things matter. So I think we have a set of factors that we look at, and I think it's healthy to to look at those too. And we've said that we're willing to work with you on numerical thresholds, on discretionary application of enhanced prudential standards, for example, and we'll work with you on any of those combinations.
I'm sure that you're aware, as the chairman has indicated, that a number of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle and on and off of the Banking Committee have recently come to an agreement on a regulatory relief package that would right-size regulations for smaller financial institutions and improve our financial regulatory framework. I'm pleased to see that we were able to reach agreement on a number of priorities that I had, such as the HMDA data reporting relief, the right-sizing of the enhanced supplemental leverage ratio, reform to the way that municipal debt is treated in bank capital requirements, and relief from some of the most arduous supervisory standards in Dodd-Frank. From what you know about the agreement, and I understand that you've had a chance to cursory look through it, Governor Powell, are there any additional reforms that you would recommend the committee include in this agreement or in future legislation? Did we miss some things that were obvious? And once again, this was a bipartisan plan, and that's exactly what we want it to be, and it's a first step for us. But are there some things in there that we should be addressing that we haven't really looked at?
Senator, we did get the text of the bill, I guess, just before the Thanksgiving break, and we've all looked at it quickly. We've agreed to come back to the committee with our technical thoughts and policy thoughts as well. I will just say, and in response to your question, we will be happy to do that. I think generally we look at the framework as a workable one, as a sensible one, and so we'll try to come back with very constructive thoughts on how to bring it forward.
Very good. I look forward to supporting your nomination, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Rounds. Senator Reid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Governor Powell, for your service. As you mentioned in your introductory statement, you have a dual mandate. One is maximum employment, but right now we seem to be doing fairly well. Your comments on where we are with respect to maximum employment?
Maximum employment is indeed our statutory goal, and I guess the thing I would say at the beginning is it's kind of an imprecise thing. You can't look at one particular measure of what that is. So we look at a range of things, and I think, for example, 4.1% unemployment is at or around or even below many estimates of the natural rate of unemployment. So that's one data point. There are other dimensions, though. For example, labor force participation really matters, in particular labor force participation by prime age workers, particularly prime age males. And that is the one measure I think that stands out now as suggesting that there may be more slack, more people that can come back to work. A wide range of other indicators suggest that we're at or near or in the neighborhood of full employment. We really can't be more precise than that. The other one, though, is wages, of course. So we look at wages, and wages, in one sense, are at appropriate levels given low productivity and low inflation. But at the same time, we don't see wages signaling any tightness in the labor market. There's no sense of an overheating economy or a particularly tight labor market. So that's what I would say about maximum employment.
I think those are insightful comments, but it raises a dilemma for both of us, both monetary policy and fiscal policy. That is, as you point out, we have this large number of people who seem to be out of the labor force, but years ago would be in the labor force. We have a group of part-time workers who'd like to be full-time workers, and wages seem to be not rising at all. And what can we do? I don't think we can claim victory on, as you suggest, on unemployment, but we have to take steps, both monetary and fiscal steps. Any suggestions?
Senator, I would say that really the steps that can be taken are steps for Congress and not so much for us. We can manage demand through a business cycle, and we can try to achieve our goal of maximum employment. But these are very long-running trends. For example, among prime-age males, participation in the labor force by prime-age males has been declining for 60 years, kind of thing. So, and the opioid crisis plays a role in it now. It's making it worse. So these are issues that we don't really have the tools to deal with.
You don't have to respond to this, but I think we've identified some significant problems that affect every household in this country, and the tax bill that's before the Senate doesn't respond, in my view, to any of those problems of how to raise wages directly, how to get people back in the workforce. Oh, by the way, how to prepare for a future in which artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles are going to be more and more competing with human beings for work. So we got a lot of work to do. Let me ask another question. Could you explain why you think the Orderly Liquidation Authority is so crucial and why it must be retained?
Sure. So my view is that bankruptcy should be the preferred option for the failure of institutions, including very large financial institutions. I think we've made tremendous progress on that through multiple submissions of living wills and such, much more progress than, frankly, I anticipated we could. However, there may come a time when bankruptcy is not going to work in a very stressful situation that really threatens the economic health of the country, just like happened in 2007, 8, and 9. And in that case, we really will need a backup in the form of something like Orderly Liquidation Authority. It isn't a perfect law or a perfect structure, but we need something like that as a backup, which we can guarantee will be there for a really emergency situation where bankruptcy isn't going to work.
Thank you. Let me make two quick points because my time is expiring. First of all, we talked about this. I spent a lot of time, in fact, I was aided by one of your key staff members who worked for Senator Gregg at the time, in trying to develop the clearing platforms for derivatives. And as you wisely pointed out, we've taken bilateral risk and we've made it mutual risk, but we still have the problem with those platforms. So I would hope that in your tenure, you would look very carefully at this potential for systemic risk, as you indicated before. It's critical. Final point, which I think, unfortunately, probably defines too much of what we do around here today, cybersecurity is an issue that is not going away. It's going to be even more dramatic in your tenure. Chairman Clayton of the SECs had pointed out in his testimony this is something we've got to get on. I sincerely believe we're way behind. And the Federal Reserve has to take a very proactive position with respect to cybersecurity. If you can, in a very few seconds, comment upon your view of cybersecurity.
Well, I agree with everything you said. It's just, it's a very, very important, maybe the single most important risk that our financial institutions, our economy, our government institutions face. We're very focused on providing the resources to deal with it and to make sure that the financial institutions we regulate and supervise address it. There can never be any sense of mission accomplished there. It's just one of those things we're always going to be feeling like we're doing as much as we can, but it's just not enough. But we're very committed, both as it relates to the Federal Reserve as an institution and as to the institutions we supervise.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.